I want to call attention to the greatest political leader you're probably alive today that you probably never heard of, Jose Mujica. Mujica is the president of Uruguay today. He's undergone a lot of hardship throughout his life, and he was a guerrilla fighter against oppressive powers back in the day, and spent about a dozen years in a very harsh prison environment. But you will find that his sacrifices today, even as president, he does not accept the perks of office. He's been described as the world's humblest president. You probably never heard of this person ever. Due to his austere lifestyle and a donation of about 90% of his monthly salary to charities to benefit poor people and small entrepreneurs. Now, he's actually politically, he's more of a Marxist, or he is a Marxist, but he takes the philosophy in the true sense. I know a lot of times people will pull out these big names, but most people have never heard of Jose Mujica. You never heard of him, actually. Some people have, I'm sure, but most people have not. He's actually, in total, he was captured by the authorities on 4 occasions. He was among more than 100 Tupamaros who escaped the prison in September 71. He was recaptured a month later after escaping. Then he escaped once more in April 1972. And he had extreme hardship in prison all the time. But what's interesting now that he's in the political, he rose through the ranks, through the political limelight. He's just by talking, in other words, they call him an anti-politician. He talks in a way where he really understands the people themselves. He does not, like I said, he gives away 90% of his money. He also drives a 1987 Volkswagen Beetle. And he also waits his turn at public hospitals. He does not live in the presidential mansion, does not accept the presidential perks. He does not accept even the bodyguards. I mean, you just couldn't believe that this is a true leader. This is somebody that cares about the people. Now, what we got going on today here in the United States, I mean, it's almost like you'd never find unless we the people elect somebody like this. One thing I've always said is that it should be anybody elected to the highest office of the United States should have been a former veteran, for one. Not somebody who just comes from the public sector, the public servant sector, but actually a veteran. But you don't see that. But what we got going on today, actually, is there's a greater evil that's coming down us than you wouldn't believe, and that is through the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And if there was ever a need for revolution at that time, it's going to be that time, because the Trans-Pacific Partnership is a page right out of the horror book of the worst stories that ever came out from the New World Order. And people actually are going to wake up to this deal big time, because it's going to limit our freedom of speech. It's going to limit our freedoms on the internet. It's going to limit our freedoms of what we can have access to, even for natural health, what we can say, you name it. So it seems like the places in the world that are the strongest in some ways are the smallest. Uruguay. Uruguay actually is considering that this man rose to the highest office of president in Uruguay, it tells you a lot about this country. And, in the United States, it seems like, we're really strong in a lot of different ways, but it's getting weaker and rotted from within. And I could say the same thing about Russia, too. People look at Vladimir Putin with his $50 billion. Does he anywhere have anything in common with Jose Mujica? No, not at all. I'd almost guarantee you that Jose doesn't cry at the national anthem and put on fake tears of joy like Vladimir Putin does. But, they all are actors, except somebody like this who gives away 90% of his money, drives a older Volkswagen. It was an 87 Volkswagen, and does not live in a presidential palace. and he doesn't accept the presidential perks. And how many do that in the United States? None of them. They're all looking for power. They're all looking for power. He used to be a Marxist guerrilla leader, but I could say I'm an anti-Marxist, but if you take the ideology in the true sense and you really believe it, it means about equity. As a matter of fact, Jose Mujica actually took money made sure that money was more equally distributed from the businessmen that earned all the money, because if the people don't have the money to spend, they're not gonna. It's gonna shoot the big business in the foot in the first place, right there. I almost have to agree with that a lot of ways too, because it's like if people don't have the money to spend, well, guess what happens? Business suffers in the long run anyway. It's a strong middle class that counts for freedoms. But today, what we got coming up, I almost guarantee you the next president, even though she says she's a socialist, she's a Marxist, maybe leanings, there's it's a word. It's a word. What did you really sacrifice for other people? When you look at Hillary Clinton, nothing. Nothing. Does she have, maybe they both would call themselves a socialist. Maybe they would both call them, you could almost say they're both socialists, they're both Marxist, but one's entirely different from the other on the spectrum. One self-sacrifices and the other doesn't. I don't know if Hillary's going to have a first lady. Maybe she will, possibly, but I think it's a shoo-in that she's going to be it. And it's Warren Buffett has already told us she's going to be the next president. And I know that her political ambitions have been very strong for many, many, many years, and she's not going to back down from running for office. I almost guarantee you that. So, and I think the American people are going to vote for her. But in a lot of ways, I just want to put this out, though, that some of the smallest countries in the world and the most poor countries in the world are the ones that have the most. And, you can see this through the leadership. Uruguay president, Jose Mujica. You probably never heard of him. Most people haven't. Most people haven't. I know usually they're getting in these ideological battles between, your Obama and this Putin guy or whatever, they don't even, they're all freaking corrupt. They're all corrupt. But when it comes down to a country like Uruguay, you actually have a leader that sacrifices for the people. I mean, could you imagine anybody that was on the top in Russia doing this? No, not in a million years. Nobody. I mean, when if you actually believe in socialism and equality, do it. And that's exactly what he is. He waits in line. He takes his turn at the public hospitals. He doesn't say, "I'm the president, get me treatment right away." He's legalized marijuana in the country too. He's one of the first people. I don't smoke weed or nothing, but he legalized marijuana in the country too. He doesn't accept any of the trappings of the office. So, I just figured I'd put this out here because it's almost like mind-boggling. When you think things are bad, there's always this ray of hope. But the ray of hope really comes from the people themselves. And the people themselves have to make certain that they don't elect garbage leaders. And, maybe some of my audience would never freaking elect Hillary Clinton or something. I don't really know. I don't know what my audience is, but it's, pretty much people get the leadership they deserve. It's like, in other words, all these people started somewhere. It could have been nipped in the bud a long time ago, but there's always some angle where somebody's getting something from it, and they all play the game, so nobody really says nothing about it. But in this case, it looks like, maybe there is a ray of hope, because the United States would greatly benefit by a leader as Jose Mujica. But, to tell you the truth, if he was a leader in this country, I think, well, it's like I said, a lot of people don't realize it. It's really far more true than you think. We actually do get the leadership we deserve. A lot of people disagree with that because maybe they're friends and what they think, and they're dissatisfied with the leadership. But if you look around across the country, we got corrupt leaders that are in office because people put them in office. But in this case, in Uruguay, they got the best possible leader they could have anywhere, hands down. So in a lot of ways, that makes Uruguay a much richer country than the United States. So just want to put this out because I thought this is pretty interesting, and a lot of people don't realize, how good it is in some areas, even though they don't have the money. But they got the right thing going. They got the right thing going. This is the way things should work. And what we got coming up here in the United States is we got big business that's pushing through the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and they're getting ready to take away all your freedoms, man. Big time, big time. That's another subject. I don't really want to delve into that subject because it's so damn bad. You just wouldn't believe it. You just wouldn't believe it. But I think a lot of people will wake up to that in fact of what's coming up pretty soon. And it's you never know. Some of the strangest turns of events could possibly happen. But speaking of strange turns of events, I think Hillary is going to be a very strange president when she gets in. I know, people are probably saying, how do you know she's going to get in? I know she's going to get in. I'm almost positive of it because she's been salivating for the presidency forever. She's not going to back down from running. I know it. And she's got all the strings. She's been in the political circle now for a while. If you talk about the United States is bad now, you're going to be thinking, Obama, I wish you were back. I wish you were back, man. Because Hillary's going to make things even a lot worse. So, but, it's a matter of, when things happen, maybe the United States is going to have to get real poor before things happen and straighten out. That may be the case. It's something to think about when the United States becomes poor and maybe they get, under the thumb of other places. And there's actually a real revolution that happens. And people be kicking themselves. They could have freaking done it a long time ago. Well, then they're going to find out. They're going to find out. But in the meantime, there's absolutely no commonality between somebody that's a socialist like Hillary Clinton and Jose Mujica. None at all. None at all. None at all. It's just a label. It's just a label. Some guy like this who calls himself a Marxist or a socialist, I got the utmost respect for him all the way. All the way. So, we're going to put this out here because a lot of people never heard of him. There are some good leaders. There are some good leaders.